probably walk up and down.
I was gonna say,
find more.
I don't like kinking it like that. And then,
why can't that be just like 15 yards over and just hang off of that thing?
I use a thick one like this, and they don't hit it as much. Like, I don't know what about it. All the other ones, they smoke, but.
So what would you say, an inch diameter?
Like an inch. An inch is perfect.
Some across the creek if you want to swim. Too curly.
Yeah, too curly. They don't hit them as well as the straight ones. That'd be like perfectly straight. This one's dry.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is, but they don't hit them as well and they don't last as long. They'll rub their heads on it.
I've seen the same thing.
And snap.
You want like the more live ones.
Mm-hmm. Ones that just drip when you start cutting them. Yeah, I'd put it right out on that branch that was there.
I don't know if we're going to be able to reach that.
Yeah, we need Jeff Dietz here.
I think the zip ties are going to serve the same purpose and probably work about the same. I do agree with you though. I like having, even on oak branches, having a little play in it. You know, enough, you want it to secure, but having enough play that they can mess around with it and play with it, and it seems to, rather than something super rigid.
Exactly. They're exactly right. They just like with these vines, they just like playing around with them, and they'll break them like that old vine, what we were talking about. Yeah. They'll just snap them in half because they play with them so much.
Well, as you can see, I've hired the expert to come hang all my mock scrapes for me. He's expensive, but it's worth it.
Charge some DQ after this. So I guess this brings up a good question. What height level do you like putting yours at?
So yeah, that is a good point because you have to take into consideration the time of year, right? Like, it's amazing how often I hang it too high because when leaves start coming off, that thing just climbs up the ladder. No matter what you're using. Obviously, it depends on the tree. Like if you hang it in a cedar or something like that, then your level's going to stay the same. But almost every other tree is going to lose quite a bit of weight by the time it's fall and they're really starting to hit these things. So this time of year, I would go at least waist height, belly button height, somewhere around there. What do you typically do? Right there, right at the waist is ideal. Yeah. And you kind of got to play with it, like from what you put out right now to, I mean, all the way to when you start putting scrapes out in October. You kind of just have to change that level up a little bit, but I'd say probably right about here now. That was about right. We'll adjust it. Well, as you can see, I got Kaleb out here with me. We just finished up our annual Midwest Whitetail Summer meetings yesterday, and so we got kind of the rare opportunity to spend some time together out on this property. This is one of my properties in just kind of a central location for Kaleb to meet while he's back in town. But we thought it'd be kind of cool. Kaleb is like probably one of the most, I don't know if you want to call it just like dedicated trail camera guys that I know, as far as just being obsessive with patterning deer, finding deer to hunt like before the season, inventory. Like he takes it to a very high level. I mean, we all love trail cameras and that whole process, but you know, that's a big part of Kaleb's strategy, more than most people I know. So I thought it'd be cool just to kind of pick each other's brains on mock scrapes especially. I know you're a big fan of putting them out this time of year for a few different reasons. Maybe you can touch on some of that, why you like doing it this time of year.
Yeah, and it's not something that I initially found out myself. Just from watching YouTube videos and whatnot, I actually found out that, you can start using these vine scrapes, and they work just as good as what an oak branch or a cedar branch would work. And I started throwing them out just out of curiosity in the summer months last year, and started putting some scent on them as soon as I put them up, and right away I started getting really good pictures. So I kind of got hooked on them really quick and started sharing the success with everyone else, and it just killed me, man. Like, all my buddies, they wouldn't believe me, and then I started sharing pictures and whatnot. And what I found out though, with starting them right now this time of year, is that all the deer use them. The does, the fawns, the bucks of all age classes. And it's a really good way to just locate these deer without using mineral or supplement feed. And it actually turns into a community scrape come fall, which is just bizarre to me. It's actually a weapon is what I call it. It can be a really, really useful tool if you do it the right way.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing. I like starting it a little on the early end, but for me, early was always like August. Not we're sitting here mid-June, and you've probably had them out for longer than that. I personally never started them this early, not for any other reason other than I've just never thought about it. So I'm excited to I don't have a camera with me today, but put one up and watch this over the summer months. But I have seen the same thing that Kaleb referred to with the community scrape, even starting them in August. I like to create a scrape in the location that I want the scrape to be before the deer start opening up all the new scrapes on their own. And I've seen that community scrape effect come through on that too. With regards to the vines, I've used vines, but not as much as oak branches. I've used oak branches probably number one, vines two, and then actual rope is probably the third option that I've used the most. And I've had success with all of them, probably vines and oak branches the most. I don't know that I've personally seen a difference between the two of those. I think one of the more important parts in my experience is just the vertical aspect. Creating something vertical rather than just a horizontal licking branch that maybe just has the tip down. A longer vertical aspect to a licking branch or a vine or a rope, whatever it is, to me has always been the key. The nice thing about this is it's natural. I mean, so obviously so is an oak branch, but it's a little easier to apply this than it is a rope. You know, trying to go buy a rope and then you contaminated with scent and all that type of stuff from the store. So the vine, and they, even though I guess we had a little harder time finding one, they grow everywhere, usually easy to find. So anyway, where we're at in the process right now, we've hung it, we've talked about, you know, the height. Now we're on to putting some scent out, and kind of the same thing. This is why it's interesting, is we've both had experience using different products, and you know, it's a lot of it's just based on experience, what seems to work. These are the three that I have with me that I've used in the past years. This one is actually a real one. These other two are synthetic, but this is Smoky's Pre-Orbital. I've ordered this online. I mean, probably for the past 5 or 6 years, I always get a bottle. But just in recent years, last year or two, I've tried the synthetic options. They just keep longer, a little less messy, that type of stuff. And I've had good luck with these too. This one's the Code Blue Pre-Orbital. It's kind of like a deodorant stick, so it makes the application pretty easy. And this one, forget what this one's called. Oh, Scrape Fix. Another synthetic one. This is a powder that you can just puff on the ground and on the licking branch. So different options you can try. I think the Pre-Orbital stuff seems to trump it. I mean, that's obviously what primarily the deer putting on these licking branches anyway. I mean, the videos you can see where the branches hit them in the face and the vines hit them in their eyes above their nose. So that's been the go-to scent. What specific brands or products have you had good luck with?
I've used everything besides Smoky that you got there, but I've had the best luck with Code Blue. It's a gel type. It's forehead gland lure is what I believe the bottle reads. Like I said, it's like a gel, and I do like, when we're talking about these scents, one thing that you taught me actually that I mentioned earlier is using pliers on the vine just to work that scent in there a little better. Yep. That's helped a lot, but I mean, all you got to do is dose it once, and then after that, the deer take care of it. They start hitting
Especially on the oak branches, because they're not as, like this one's a little more porous. You can see, I mean, it's gonna kind of find its cracks, and you can still work it up a little bit, but Yeah, that's something I always do on oak branches for sure. Just mash it up a little bit, hold the scent a little bit longer. And one thing we were just talking about, Kaleb brought up a good point. The forehead lure, the preorbital gland lure, that's the type of stuff you want to put on the licking branches. Some of the other stuff, whether it's urine or tarsal gland or interdigital gland, that's the type of stuff that you can apply, but apply it to the ground. Obviously where that scent is going to be laid with a real deer, don't apply that up on the licking branch or the rope or whatever you're using. We've both seen it where that has spooked deer. It's not a natural place for that scent to be found. Focus on the preorbital forehead type glands up on the licking branches. Another question that Kaleb gets asked and I get asked a lot is location for mock scrapes, and this is obviously very dependent on your situation. Where do you want it, but also you want it to be in natural spots too. This specific location is a really good creek crossing here. This is a major creek and they cross at a lot of different points, but this is the best one along this stretch that I found. And it intersects right here with this lane that we're standing in and driving up and down. So you get that natural movement paralleling the creek. You also get this median, so it's a T intersection right here, very natural spot to put this. You're already getting the deer traffic here. Now we're just making a specific location to get pictures on this scrape. Are there any general locations that you really like or things that you look for when you're picking out these spots?
I mean, you really hit the hammer on the nail, but one off the top of my head is just field edges, especially when the corn pops up, gets past tassel or that V10 stage. They'll start walking those edges really hard, but the main core areas that I focus in on them is just high traveled areas as close to my stand as possible where I can't throw out any feed or supplement. And I just don't even want to worry about any supplement or feed anywhere within 200 to 300 yards of my stands. So that's where these come in, and I'll put them in bedding areas, sanctuaries, and that's really where I get the best pictures overall.
Yeah, I think the stand thing is good too, because being primarily bow hunters, it can be a great thing if you're in a big field and you can put something out within bow range. It's a great little draw, or maybe you're hunting a big food plot or just a bigger area. It's a great thing to attract a buck when he first comes in. There's a good chance he's gonna go check that one spot. I've seen, especially like, let's say it's an acre food plot even, or bigger. If you have something out in the middle of that, not away from the field edges, that seems to be a hot spot. Rather than putting it on a tree that's already on the field edge, get it out away by itself out there, and that seems to be just kind of a magnet and a hub for a lot of deer to come visit that every time they come into that plot. Like I said, I've had luck with all three of these. I think for this one I'm gonna apply the preorbital, and with this being a synthetic and just the form factor, easy to apply, and it's not as messy, and it's not, I don't think, as necessary to try to really mash this one up. So I'm just going to apply it to the bottom side of this, and it usually with these scents it doesn't take very much. You don't want to douse whatever you're using in it. It doesn't take very much. A lot of times these stay on pretty good. So kind of wrapping this up, I'm excited to get a camera on this location. I mean, I wish I had one with me today, because it won't take very long for deer to start visiting this at all. But I'll get one put up here pretty soon. And just to kind of reiterate, the grapevines is Kaleb's go-to. I've had good luck with them. A lot of guys have had good luck with them. But also, again, the oak branches, cedar branches. I know guys that use cedar branches. I don't use a ton of those, but also the ropes too. So there's multiple options. We wanted to do this one today, just kind of talk about the grapevines and what to look for in those with the diameter, and not being dead and cracked open. Location's always really important when it comes to these things. One of my favorite things about it, and I think Kaleb too, is it feels a little more natural inventory tool. Like it's more natural and cheaper than putting out corn, or it's a good way to just keep inventory on bucks as they start to grow their antlers, and if you start them later in the year, inventory as we go into hunting season. But it's a very easy thing that anyone can do to get more trail cam pictures and try to keep tabs on bucks. And we talked about like the options of doing on public land. I think that's one thing you're just going to have to check with your local game warden on with regards to cutting branches on public land, whether you can bring in your own grapevine, or because there's a lot of public lands where you can't cut branches. So some questions there that I would just recommend checking with a local game warden. Obviously we're on private property right now, don't have to worry about that, but it's if you can work it on public land, it's a really good option for getting inventory when you can't put out feed or mineral or something like that, which most public land you can't.
And just to reiterate, right now is the perfect time to get these scrapes started, just for the community scrape aspect.
Yeah, and like I said before, I usually start them in August and not this early, but just talking with Kaleb over the past few weeks, we talked about starting it now and how he likes to start it now. So I have had cameras on scrapes for the past 2 to 3 weeks now, and we'll show some of the videos, and like I said, they're hitting it multiple times a day. So it is pretty cool to watch that, and you can just kind of keep track of the antler growth a little bit earlier. So now's a great time to get them out. If you guys have suggestions that you've seen work, again, this is all just based on my experience and Kaleb's experience, what we've seen work and not work, but it's always cool to hear different perspectives, so feel free to let us know. Appreciate you guys joining. We'll see you next week.